Welcome back to Thrive Thursdays. I am Volante and I wanted to talk about grief this week. And as some of you may know, I lost my mom a couple weeks ago. And just in general, this has been a time of a lot of grief. And when you speak of grief, of course, the most common kind of grief is through death. But there can be grief for the loss of anything. Just give me a second here. I want to adjust my lighting. Looks kind of dark. But okay, so we're talking about grief. And the first thing that I have to say is that grief is death is a part of life and grief goes with that. And it's okay to grieve, but when you do grieve, you want to grieve in a healthy way and you have to be able to move forward. And again, I chose this topic. Thank you so much. Again, I chose this topic because this is something that I'm going through at this point. And in ministry, I like to make it real. We can read the scriptures, we can quote the scriptures, we can talk about all of the characters in the Bible. But that next step is applying it to your life. So when you speak of grief, I just took some notes about some things that have helped me get through the last couple of weeks. The first thing I have to say is to accept it. The first stage, I think, is just disbelief, not being able to come to the finality, thank you so much, Lisa, of not seeing your loved one again. You start going through replaying all of the things that you're never going to get to do again. And there's this shock, there's the disbelief. And the first thing, to just embrace it, accept it, understand it. It's real. Being in denial only makes the grief worse and it makes it more painful. So you want to accept it. Another piece that's really critical is to explore your feelings. What I've learned about grief is that it's not just one emotion. It is a conglomerate of a lot of emotions. There's hurt, there's pain. For me, there was anger. And I had to explore that. There were a lot of things that I was angry about. And it's kind of a displaced anger because you're not angry at the person who was deceased. You definitely know better than to be angry at God, but I just had this anger. I was mad, and I didn't want to be bothered. My first reaction was I wanted to just go in my room and close the door and not talk to anybody. And fortunately, I have a support system of people who know me, and they know that I withdraw when I'm struggling, and so they came and got me. But explore those feelings because they're valid. Some people may have regret. Fortunately for me, I didn't have any regrets, but explore every aspect of your feelings and understand why you're feeling like you're feeling. Understand what your triggers are. For example, I'm the kind of person who I've been talking about this. I can talk about my mom. I can talk about her death without breaking down. I'm okay at that point. But there's different triggers. Say, for instance, today I went to the grocery store and I went over to the ice cream aisle to buy her favorite ice cream for her. And that was a moment when I felt like breaking down because I went, oh, wow, there's not a reason for me to do this anymore. So explore all of those things, understand why. Another component to help deal with grief is to forgive. Whomever, whatever, you've got to forgive. I was talking about the anger. Some of the anger was tied to things that I didn't forgive. Like I said, my mom was sick for a long time, and I felt like some people didn't treat her right, or I felt like the people that she had done the most for weren't there for her. You got to let all of that go. There's no room for any of that. You've got to be able to forgive. If there was something between you and the person that you lost, you've got to forgive that. If it was something that you didn't get a chance to say or do, you've got to forgive yourself. Because the thing about grief and death is that it is final. Once it's done, it's done. There's nothing more final than that. So you cannot go back and change what has happened. So you have to accept what has happened. And you also have to forgive anything that you can't change. Another thing, and this is what I'm so sorry. This is live, so I had to sneeze. But there's another thing that you have to do, and this is where I struggled. Allow people to help you. I never like to ask for help for anything. You have to allow people to help you. Open up. When people say, is there anything that I can do, or whatever I can do for you, I would always say, no, I'm okay, when I really wasn't, and when I really did need help. I learned to just make a list of things that needed to be done. And when somebody offered to do those things, to allow them. And when you do that, it eases that burden. Because part of grief is that you're grieving, you're hurting, but life goes on. There are still needs that have to be met. There's things that has to be done. I was talking about the fact that I didn't even have to clean my house. I didn't even have to cook because my church family was here cleaning out the refrigerator, mopping floors, cooking dinner, all of those things. And I would never in a million years have asked anyone to do those things for me. But my goodness, not having to do that was such a huge help. So you have to allow people to help you. This next point is a big one. Take your time. There is no set time for the grieving process. Um, Sometimes people they'll decide, okay, well, it's been enough time, she should be okay. I got a phone call the other day from somebody who called me. I think exactly a week since we buried my mom, and the phone rang, and I'm notorious for not answering the phone, but I've been answering the phone lately because I've been getting a lot of really uplifting and encouraging phone calls. So I pick up the phone, and this person is just going on and on and on about her problems, just on and on and on. And I'm listening, going, okay, it's not that I don't care, but I don't care. I did not have the bandwidth for that. And you've got to take your time and push back. Tell people just up front, look, I can't deal with this right now. I need a little bit more time. Especially for me. Again, I'm able to talk about this. I'm able to work. But there are still barriers. So for me to continue to work, to still make videos, to still do my job, that is pushing me to my limit. So all of the other things that I may normally do for people, I don't have the capacity to do that right now. Sometimes people will see that you're doing other things and figure, oh, okay, they can help me. You've got to take your time and grieve. And then my brings me to my next point. Do it your way. However you need, whatever you need to make it work for you. People will tell you that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. This is how you do it. Especially in the body of Christ. I received another phone call where somebody was commending me on the way that I was dealing with it, but then turned around and condemned other people with the way that they were dealing with it. And I wasn't impressed with that either. Do it your way. Everybody has different relationships and they grieve differently. And then another thing is to release the coulda, woulda, shoulda. Let me just try. It seems like my video is getting darker and darker. I don't know. Oh, this is the best we got. Release the coulda, woulda, shoulda. If I had done this, maybe this. If I had done something else, it would have done this thing. I should have. Forget all of that. Again, you cannot go back and change the past. I know for me, being the caregiver, when my mom first came home from hospice, I remember being very afraid that I would make the wrong decision and cause her death. And there was a social worker that came in, and I didn't have a lot of faith in social workers. And but she did get through to me, and she said to me that you're not powerful enough to control whether your mom lives or dies. That's in God's hands. All you can do is do your best and love her and be there for her. And that was really important for me. Hi, Jessica. Thanks for tuning in again. But that was really important for me to be able to hear that and to release that. You got to do the best you can, and that's the best that you can do. And remember that you make progress, and it comes in stages. It comes in waves. There'll be times where you'll be fine. The next moment, something can happen and trigger you. And you've just got to flow with that. And that's really all I have. I just wanted to share that because I do know the topic today is about grief. And we're talking about how to deal with it, ways to understand that death is a part of life, but to also move on. And even it is something that I would not even say gets better with time. You learn to live with it, you learn to deal with it, but there will be times when it feels as real 10 years from now. I know I lost my sister almost 20 years ago. And, the other is actually right here, this pen. I was going through my mom's thing, and my mom had kept my sister's pen. And it kind of, just triggered a whole barrage of emotions. And that's okay. There will be times when you will have to stop and think about what you want to do and how you want to do it and how you're going to overcome it. And anytime you need to stop and take care of yourself, do that. And that's something I wanted to share. I'm committed to, I believe that when you go through things, not even I believe, the word says that all things work together for the good of them who are the called according to his purpose. And I believe that, and I try, no matter what I go through, no matter what I deal with, I try to find the lesson and the blessing in it, not just for me, but for other people. What lesson can I extract and share? Because one thing that I've learned is that when we go through things, we're not the only one going through it. And if we can share it, we can bless other people while we're healing and while we're getting our own deliverance. So I just wanted to jump on really quickly. I've been committed to doing the Thrive Thursdays, and I think I missed two of them during the time that my mom passed away, and I did not want to miss a third one. And so I figured, I was trying to think of a topic, and I figured, well, this is what I'm dealing with right now. I try to keep these Thrive Thursdays real, so it doesn't get much realer than this. So I'm just kind of sharing my ideas, my topics. I hope that this helps someone, specifically if you're grieving, if you're dealing with the loss of a loved one. If you are, and I say this all the time and I mean it, if you're grieving, not even death, but if you're hurting, struggling, I actually talked to a couple of friends I have in ministry to put together an intercessory team, because I do get prayer requests, and while of course I do pray for people all the time, intercessory prayer is not my gift. So I want to put together a team of people, and if you're interested in doing that, please let me know. That specialize in it. I'm a teacher. I pray, but I am a teacher. There are people whose gifting is intercessory prayer, and I want those people to be able to meet the needs of you if you do have a special prayer request. So I am done. See, I miss my grandma a lot, and she died in 2017. Okay, that was Jessica talking about that. And those are things, even though, like I said, I shared that my daughter is the one who found my mother, her grandmother. And it's just difficult. And that's okay. You still miss people. And you learn how to, one thing I wrote down, I didn't say, is to reminisce. Embrace the good times. Embrace everything. For me, I had a cousin. One of my aunts passed away. She said she couldn't stand to look at pictures of her mom. Me, there's literally a picture of my mom every 3 feet in my house. There's one right here next to me. This is her. I love it. Every time I see her smiling, I smile. So it's different things, but try to embrace those memories. I literally can't think about it, talk about it without laughing, because she was a laugher. She was a laugher, if that's the word. But she laughed. She smiled. And that is what I'm holding on to. That is what I'm loving to do. So again, talking about grief, I hope that this helped someone. Thank you for tuning in. This is really my first week, really getting back to work, trying to get back in the swing of things. Oh, another part of grief is fatigue. I am exhausted. So I'm working through this, and I still want to bring you the best for the Sanctuary Academy. Thank you. This is Thrive Thursday, and our topic tonight was grief.